Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and we welcome you to our Westchester update for the week beginning today, Monday, April 3rd. We're here to give you an idea of some of the key issues that we're facing in Westchester County, and as we do each week, we have a special guest join us who is active in the world of government, and we're very happy to have a special guest today is the County Executive of Putnam County, our neighbor directly to the north. We're going to bring him on just a second, but in the meantime, we're going to cover a few things that we're working on going forward. We're going to talk about the incidents of swatting that occurred last week in this area. That is a mild-sounding word for something that's very serious. We'll share with you so far what the outgrowth of that is. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the efforts we're making municipally, working with State Controller Tom DiNapoli to try to get unclaimed funds back in the hands of Westchester residents. Who doesn't need more money, particularly at tax season? Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, will join me here. We'll go over some of the park's different activities we have. We'll take a quick look at what's happening with the state budget, which neither the County Executive of Putnam County nor the County Executive of Westchester County knows exactly what's happening with the state budget. We'll give you an idea of some of those issues that are at hand. But let me invite my guest to join us here. Kevin Byrne is Putnam County Executive, who was elected last year in the general election, and he begins his 3-year term as of the first of this year. Kevin worked with us in his prior assignment as a New York State Assemblyman, and he represented a couple of the northern Westchester communities along with the bulk of Putnam County in the state legislature. And we worked together cooperatively on a number of different projects. And of course, his background has both staff work at the congressional level for a prior U.S. Congresswoman. He's also been a planning board member in his home community of the town of Putnam Valley. So he's got municipal experience, federal experience, and now as a chief executive of Putnam County, we're very happy to be working together. As I mentioned last week when Steve Newhouse was our visitor, the county executive of Orange County, and in a few weeks we have Ed Day, the county executive of Rockland County, joining us. Those of us who share the same geography in the lower Hudson Valley have many things in common. We share the Great Hudson River. We have much in common in our transportation routes, particularly with Putnam County, because we share the Taconic Parkway, the I-684-84 combination is a route through both Westchester then into Putnam County. We have two lines together, the Harlem line and the Hudson line of Metro North. We have a joint workforce task group that is both a Westchester-Putnam activity, but so many things link us because of our common geography. And hopefully as we work together going forward with the Byrne administration, we'll find new ways to work together. Many people live in Putnam, work in Westchester, and the reverse is also true. And if you're going to do a little bit of tourism, there's a lot of nice places to visit over the border in Putnam County. So I'm very happy to invite my colleague, Putnam County Executive Kevin Byrne, to the microphone so he can share some of his thoughts and information about Putnam County. Mr. County Executive, thank you for being with us here, just a little further south in Westchester.
Thank you. Well, it's always good to be back in Westchester. I want to thank Westchester County Executive George Latimer for being such a gracious host. I have spent many hours in this building in Westchester County, previously as your state legislator for the 94th District, which included the towns of Yorktown and Somers, as well as most of Putnam County. And I always enjoyed working with George, both in your previous role as a state senator, but also as the county executive. The communication always flowed very well, always very professional. We had to deal with a lot of struggles together, particularly when it came to utility companies. I remember United Westchester was an effort that we worked with former Assemblyman David Buchwald and County Executive Latimer. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the many phone calls and briefings that we had during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic with the governor's office in both Putnam County and in Westchester County. And it is a pleasure and a privilege to be here, and I want to thank you again for welcoming me, George. I do miss many of my work in the State Assembly, particularly the people that I interact with. I enjoyed serving about 60,000 people in my assembly district were from Westchester. So I do miss dealing and interacting with them. I'll tell you one thing I don't particularly miss is the state budget process. And as the county executive of Westchester alluded to, we are still without a complete budget from Albany, and we all anxiously await to see what the final product is. A lot of the decisions that they make at the state level will affect us at the county level, how we continue to deliver our services and operate efficiently. So we are appreciative of the work that our state representatives are putting in, and we hope that they have a resolution soon. I will want to start just by talking about some of the early work that we have done in Putnam County under my administration, and some of the early successes, some of the small victories, and some of the long-term visions that we've laid out for the people of Putnam County. In Putnam County, we have 6 towns, 3 villages that represent close to 98 to 99,000 people in Putnam County. On day one, January 1st, New Year's Day, went into the office building, and the very first thing that we did, it might sound a little silly, but I ripped out the VIP parking spaces for the county executive, the deputy county executive, and the chair of the legislature. We're a small county. I'm 38 years old. I can walk an extra 15 yards to get to the county office building, and if there's truly an emergency, I can park on the curb. But the truth is, if there's an emergency, I'm not going to be tucked away in my office. I'll probably be at the EOC with our Bureau of Emergency Services. We've also unwrapped and rolled out a brand new county website. In the past, our Putnam County website, putnamcountyny.gov or putnamcountyny.com, both work. The website was cluttered with ads and advertisements for various events and ad space. That's not the purpose of county government. What we want to do is make it more user-friendly, accessible for people that are trying to access services from their county government, whether it's our county clerk, our DMV, our social services, our mental health, our health department. There's a lot of very important services that are provided at the county level, sometimes funded and mandated at the state level, but the county level and local government is where the rubber meets the road. So having a functioning, user-friendly website is important. We also restored our employee recognition program. It sounds like something simple, but our employee recognition program was disbanded and discarded for over a decade. For reasons unknown to me, our county clerk actually helped me find an old plaque in a closet in one of the lower offices in the county office building when I said I wanted to bring back the employee recognition program. And we found that on the plaque there was a number of public employees that have been recognized for outstanding work, but the last person to be recognized was in 2011 under the former county executive Paul Eldridge, who now serves as our county's personnel director. We not only restored that program, but we have now put that plaque to good use and have rehung it in the county office building's foyer for all residents and county employees to see. We also started a American Rescue Plan Act review committee. So in Putnam County, one of the things that we did that was unique was my predecessor, the previous administration, the Odell administration, they used a substantial portion of their ARPA allotment from the federal government to provide money to local governments for capital projects. Now, in Putnam County, the way sales tax was initially structured in Putnam County, they don't share that revenue with local governments. There are plenty of other services that the county government provides and delivers to local towns and villages and school districts. But this was a way of providing additional relief to local governments, which also received ARPA funding from the federal government directly. But this ARPA review committee that we have created, it's important because there is a number of requirements and regulations that local municipalities must adhere to make sure that money, that federal aid, gets put to good use and that we don't have to give it back. And we've already put that ARPA review committee to good use and have had to transfer some of the dollars for different projects to ensure towns like the town of Putnam Valley are able to keep that money. One of the things I did in the state assembly was engage with the community with constituent forums. We've hosted a number of constituent forums in the past, my previous role, but for whatever reason, previous county executives in Putnam have not held town hall forums. In my first 2 months, I already held a town hall forum, and on Saturday in February, quite frankly, the coldest day of the year, we held our first town hall forum at the Lake Carmel Volunteer Fire Department in the town of Kent. We had dozens of people show up. Even though I gave them some free coffee, I don't think that's really why they stuck around. They had some very informative questions, detailed questions, which is valuable for me as your county executive to learn and to grow, but also to give them the answers that they are seeking. We also identified and implemented new savings initiatives, and this is very important as someone that is striving to always deliver a more affordable, accountable governmental service. We look for savings both large and small. And at the smallest level, we did things like cancel the cable TV subscription in the county executive's office. And I replaced it with an Amazon Fire Stick that simply relies on our own existing internet. It saves us about $120 a year. Not big money, but it's something. And we try to identify everything, large and small, where we can save taxpayer money. We also painted my personal office in the county executive suite and furnished it at no taxpayer expense, saving an additional, exceeding $1,500. We've done other medium to large scale savings by restructuring the county executive's staff and budget with the various departments, where we saved over $104,000, and that was just with a few budget transfers that we submitted to the legislature the second week of January, and that was passed in February and signed and enacted into law. We also instituted a new policy of reviewing and scrutinizing every new county contract. That creates a lot of work, but it also creates new opportunities, and that very much is the theme of this administration, exploring and making sure that we seize those opportunities. Examples of projects projected savings for 2023 exceed $500,000. So through construction contracts that we've reviewed and scrutinized, we've identified over $100,000 in savings. By locking in lower rates for our utility bills, over $185,000 is projected in savings before the end of the year. By initiating a new equity leasing of fleet vehicles just for our sheriff's office, this is not countywide, we're projecting over $450,000 in savings in taxpayer spending. And our risk management team, our all-star team from risk management, they've worked relentlessly to identify new methods to reduce risk, liability, and realize greater financial returns and cost savings through greater rebates and lower costs. That has already totaled and are projected of exceeding over $260,000 in savings to the people of Putnam County. And that is all this year, all within our first 90 days of office. And as any executive will tell you, one of the biggest things you have to do is you have to rely on competent, intelligent, professional personnel. And it's no secret that in Putnam County, we have a lot of senior managers that are looking to move on as they face retirement. So we have a lot of things that we have inherited as far as vacancies that we needed to make sure we took control of to ensure that there was a smooth transition and that essential services are delivered to those who need them in Putnam County. By doing so, we posted immediately every vacant position in Putnam County on January 1, something that could have been done months in advance, but was not. So first thing, post those positions. And we also seized that opportunity by using a professional selection committee process to interview personnel. It's not someone that I just need to like. It needs to be a professional, competent person who's going to do the job right for taxpayers. We've done this process for the Bureau of Emergency Services. Our health commissioner has agreed to stay on until the end of the year. We plan to utilize that process for health as well. We've utilized it for real property. We're utilizing it for highway and facilities. Finance, as our finance commissioner is looking to retire mid-year, but graciously has agreed to stay on as a consultant. Our DSS mental health commissioner, who has served for many, many years in Putnam County, Mike Piazza, a tremendous public servant. He's agreed to stay on throughout our budget process, which would bring him to the month of November. We have a new county attorney that we have appointed, and we have a new purchasing director that we have appointed. I've also made the appointment of Neil Zuckerman to remain on the MTA board. The Westchester County Executive talked rightfully about the importance of the MTA and its importance to both this region, Putnam and Westchester County, and we are part of that MTA region. We have both the Harlem lines and the Hudson line, including the last stop to the express line in the Harlem line at Southeast. Neil Zuckerman is the finance chair of the MTA board, and he's proud to call Putnam County his home. And I was proud to give him the nomination to recommend to the governor and the state senate. And this is a nonpartisan appointment. Mr. Zuckerman and I belong to different political parties, but the people of Putnam County see the value that he brings to the board and to us as residents and as customers of the MTA. We also have a number of appointments to the Board of Ethics. Every single member of the Board of Ethics in Putnam County, when I took office, had an expired term of office. So again, we posted the volunteer positions and corresponded with all the current members so they could reapply if they want to stay on the board. And speaking of ethics, we also identified and resolved what I believe was a long-standing ethical conflict, an inappropriate relationship with one particular media outlet that they had with the county. We learned that for years, a reporter for a local paper had been serving as a volunteer public information officer for the county's Bureau of Emergency Services. While the individual was and is very well respected around the county, I learned that he had an unfair and improper advantage by having access to county facilities, personnel, and operations when no other member of the media had. The reporter had possessed a county ID that gave him full access to sensitive and secure county facilities, such as the 911 Center and the EOC. This provided that one media outlet with inappropriate exclusivity to county government emergency communications and personnel. Previous administrations were all too comfortable with this relationship that may have given them favorable coverage, or they lacked the political will to make the needed change. I believe it was wrong, and I ended it. This also leads to the need for greater transparency and accountability in our county government, Putnam County. No matter how politically difficult it may be, it remains a top priority of my administration, and to that end, I have proposed legislation in Putnam County that is unique and different to many counties, namely the Taxpayer Transparency Act, which has been submitted to the legislature for their review and consideration. This legislation would self-mandate live streaming of all legislative public meetings and create a new budget transparency website so regular, typical residents can go online and actually understand the budget and read it in layman's terms. We also proposed a taxpayer bill of rights, which would require a supermajority, 2/3 vote of the legislature to increase property taxes at all. This goes beyond the state property tax cap. And it would also increase access and comment periods during budget hearings. Now, it's worthwhile noting that unlike Westchester, Putnam County only has 9 members of the legislature. So a supermajority is 6 versus 5. What may be good for Putnam does not necessarily mean it's good for all counties. Other legislative proposals that we have advanced forward for the legislature's consideration is a resolution declaring our county support for our existing United States Constitution, transforming and reorganizing our Highway and Facilities Department to a Department of Public Works, which is something that every other county in the region has, and is a name that is much more fitting for the work that our men and women in the Highway and Facilities Department does. They don't just work on roads and bridges. They are the Highways Division, they have a Facilities Division, an Engineering Division, and a Parks Division. And they deserve a brand and a name that reflects the work that they do. We've also proposed a $2 million budget transfer to support a facility improvement fund to support county government facilities that our public employees work in and our residents visit and that they rely on. And they deserve to work in an environment that is safe and is a place of pride. The legislature has this on their agenda for their full meeting tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing them pass it. We're also launching initiatives to do more in support of our most vulnerable in Putnam County. Many counties have received funding from the opioid settlement funds, and to date, Putnam County has not spent any of it. It is my belief that no government should hoard these dollars, and we should make sure that it gets out to the people that need it, not to be used to fund county government budget gaps, but to be used to make a difference and help those who are hurt. And it was that in mind that we proposed to the legislature for a budget transfer of $85,000 to support the Putnam County Prevention Council to help those people in need. We've also recommitted ourselves as a county to think differently. As someone who passed a resolution to make ourselves a Think Differently county, we've also created a position in the Department of Social Services that creates the coordinator for the Office of Individuals with Disabilities, identifying a location also for a new state-of-the-art crisis stabilization center. All important things that are priorities of Putnam County government. And like all levels of government, Putnam County government actively works to serve and provide the public safety of all our residents and our visitors. Moving forward with an emergency services radio project is something that we continue to work on. And unlike some other county governments, Putnam County government, not just the towns, which is unique because of our size and scale, sometimes we can actually do more. It is Putnam County that is providing the contracted advanced life support services to our residents when they dial 911. And we're looking forward to improving and enhancing our work in emergency services by moving forward with additional capital improvements to the exterior of our emergency services facility. And in conclusion, and speaking of public safety, I wanted to talk about one last important point that I think brings our counties together. And the County Executive Latimer mentioned this earlier. An obvious example that affects us both is the consequences from the closure of the Indian Point nuclear power plant. And I remember being at and attending many of the closure task force meetings with the county executive's predecessor and with the county executive and his team participating as well. This has presented a host of issues for our area and our region. And while personally, when operational, I have always felt and believed that the benefits of a functioning, operating nuclear power plant, both environmental and economically, were great for the region and for the people of Putnam County. But that said, absent these benefits, I have joined my colleague, County Executive George Latimer, and the people of Westchester County in expressing that the planned dumping of wastewater into the Hudson River is entirely unacceptable. George personally raised this issue among our peers with representatives from the mayor's office of New York City and county executives all over the state at a meeting in Albany with the New York State County Executives Association. And I agree with him. There are alternative solutions for disposing of this water, and they must be pursued. Again, I want to close by saying thank you to George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, for having me, for the people of Westchester County, for allowing me to serve you in the Assembly for 6 years, and for being a great neighbor to work with and partner with in the years ahead. Thank you, George. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you with us here. A pleasure to have with us here the County Executive of Putnam County, the Honorable Kevin Byrne. And we look forward, Kevin, to working with you on many of these initiatives that you've identified. We are neighbors, and we have so many things that do link us. And we're happy to be the kind of partners that you can rely on. There's certain services that you have that we can benefit from, and then certainly the same is true from Westchester to Putnam. So do give our respect to our friends in Putnam County. Thank you very much. Kevin Byrne, County Executive of Putnam County. Now, as he pointed out, we're going to be having a statement made a little later this month, joined by other county executives in the Hudson Valley, expressing our opposition to Holtec's plan to dump radioactive water into the Hudson River. This is a decision that's going to be made at the federal government level, but those of us in local government want to be sure that our voices are heard along with citizens' voices, those from various towns and cities that are on the river, as to how dangerous we think this could be for our communities and for the life of the river, and we appreciate having that joint support with Putnam County. We have a few things to comment on here in Westchester County, and I'm going to be joined by Ken Jenkins, who's our Deputy County Executive. Obviously, you've just got a very thorough update from Putnam County. We try to break ours in weekly intervals in terms of what's happening, but we do look forward to giving a state of the Westchester County update in a formal address to the Board of Legislators during the month of May. So that's yet ahead of us as we cover these things. Last week we had a couple of issues happen that we want to highlight. First of all, there was an across-the-board experience with something that's been called swatting, which happened not just in Westchester County, but in a number of other jurisdictions last week. Now, swatting is a rather mild word that describes a criminal harassment tactic of deceiving an emergency services entity by hoaxing a dispatcher to believe that there is some type of emergency that requires police or emergency services response team to a specific address. In this particular case, the swatting was done with a number of different school districts based here in Westchester County and in Putnam County as well, in which they received fake threats of violence at a school setting. A school shooting incident was what was reported. And immediately, police officers at whatever level of high speed that it takes them respond to the site of where shooting has been reported. And of course, we found that in every one of these cases, there was no shooting incident, but it happened in multiple places, all reported at the same time. So this was clearly an effort by some combination of individuals, was not a single person, some combination of individuals to throw us into some degree of chaos. For what purpose, we do not know, but all of our responding organizations did their due diligence and responded effectively. So to that extent, there was no shooting incidents in any of the Westchester schools. That's good news. No one lost their life there. That our emergency responders, police, EMS, responded effectively and efficiently. That's good news. And also in the process of response, there were no auto accidents, which often happens when you have high-speed response to an emergency. So we were very fortunate in those areas. What we're not fortunate is knowing that somebody out there was trying to trying to probe our system. That's the only way I can interpret this. We were not alone. There was a probe done similarly in the Pittsburgh area a few days before. Upstate New York had an experience, and this seems to be happening around the country. We have our police agencies doing the detective work necessary to see if it could be uncovered who was behind this incident, and we're certainly going to respond effectively. We have protocols in place for such response. There are active shooter drill training that goes on an ongoing basis for school officials, for police officials, other emergency responders. So we're not at a loss to know what to do in these situations, and we obviously hope that we don't have a situation like that occur in Westchester County. We've been able to avoid the worst incident, but no one can be confident of who next might suffer from something like this. So we operate in an area of constant vigilance and also hope that we don't have to have these services go into effect. But the swatting incidents are serious. They are real. They were responded to, and there were no negative impacts of it. But we're certainly going to monitor it, and we'll report to you if we have any other further information on this. We have coming up this week the continuation of an effort that we are making as a county government in concert with State Controller Tom DiNapoli's office to host unclaimed funds sessions in a variety of locations around the county. Unclaimed funds are a series of dollar amounts that have been forwarded initially intended for a recipient to receive, but not able to be delivered to them in their address. And so that money is given over to the state controller, where he has a fund and a searchable database that will tell you if you are owed money by some entity. It could have been a dividend check from some business that you received a dividend from. It could be money that you left behind as a deposit for utility. It could be anything under the sun. It could be a tax refund check. That money is held by the state controllers, and you can go on this database, search, and if you have a claim and it's you actually, you'd verify your name and the address that you either do now or once lived at an address so that it is you. You then can claim the form, and after you go through a certain period of time, the money will be returned to you, which is good news for you. Many people are not comfortable dealing with this system. They may not have either the computer access or the computer skills necessary to do the data search. So we have gone out in concert, county legislators in our office, county executive's office, in concert with the state controller to hold these different seminars all around the county. In the last 2 weeks, we've had sessions in the city of Rye and in the village of Rybrook, and we have this week upcoming 2 of those sessions. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., we will be in Mamaroneck at the Larchmont Mamaroneck Senior Center that's on the Boston Post Road. It was formerly the VFW Hall, located just on the border of Mamaroneck town before you enter Mamaroneck Village. That starts at 1 o'clock. County Legislator Catherine Parker and myself will be there to assist anybody in being able to search the database, and if they find a claim, be able to print it out and to go from there. Then the following day, on Wednesday of this week, we will be at the South Salem Firehouse, which is Route 35 in South Salem. That is the town of Lewisboro. And I will be there with County Legislator Erica Pierce. That also starts at 1 p.m. And the same provisions apply. There will be a couple of our staff people working laptops, being able to search for the individuals that come in. You can stop by for a minute or 10 minutes, whatever. Usually there's enough people working this so that you don't have a very long wait. If we find that there is a claim, we can either print out the claim or help you file it online. But either way, you'll have an opportunity to get the money back. And for many people who say, oh, I'll never find any money, when I was at the one last week, we saw 10, 12, 15 people come up with some amount of money. They don't tell you how much it is, but they tell you what the source of it is, and so the individual can then make the connection to something in their life that generated this unclaimed fund. But we highlight this. You can check this at home right now. You don't need to go to an unclaimed fund setting. You can go onto your website, osc.state. osc.ny.us. That's the website for the Office of State Controller, Tom DiNapoli, osc.state.ny.us/OUF, Office of Unclaimed Funds. And what you will see is a page come up in which you enter your name, and also the location of your geography. And when you enter that information, you'll see all people that share your name and geography, which pretty much means you. Depends on how common a last name you have. If you're Smith or Jones, you can expect a lot of different entries, and you could check it for yourself. But if you don't want to do that, tomorrow in the town of Mamaroneck, adjacent to Larchmont as well, right in that area, and then the day after that in Lewisboro, in the hamlet of South Salem, we will have these unclaimed funds activities. We're going to continue to do them all over the county over the course of the next few months to try to give you an opportunity to be able to claim some of your funds. Next, I'd like Ken to go over some of the upcoming parks events. It is the springtime now. We're in April, and we have a lot more events going on at our various parks. We want to make sure that you know that they're there, and Ken will give you an update on them.
Thanks, George. And certainly because we have our nationally accredited and award-winning park system, it is spring and it is going on through the county park systems. So we have several events that we want to bring to your attention as we go through both the holiday weeks for those celebrating Passover, and then certainly folks going through Holy Week for the Easter that culminates with Easter. We have some park events that are going on while schools are going to be out as we go forward. From Tuesday, April 11th to Friday, April 14th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at our Hilltop Hanover Farm and Environmental Center. That's in Yorktown Heights. It's going to be an April break camp for kids. So get the kids out the house and let them spend the morning with the animals, greenhouses, and fields, from digging in fresh soil, sowing seeds, and everyone's favorites, goats. Explore all parts of the farm, from the outer pastures to the forest and the pond across the street. Get to know seeds, animals, and vegetables up close. You can attend 1, 2, or all 3 or all 4 days. Each day is going to have a different focus, and you need to register at the website at hilltophanoverfarm.org. Sure that it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. That's going to be a great opportunity at the Hilltop Hanover Farm and Education Center. Saturday, April 15th. It isn't really tax day, so you can really push it off till the 18th, I believe, because April 15th is on a Saturday. Edith G. Reed Sanctuary Right in Rye is going to have its spring clay harvesting, creating and taking. So there's some nice clay deposits that are in and near the sanctuary, and they're going to have an opportunity that the visitors will be able to create. First, you're going to pull it out and create some clay items. It's a great opportunity to get around and walk around the beautiful Edith G. Reed Sanctuary. You can walk around Playland Park as well. We can certainly have an opportunity to do that. That's going to be on Saturday, April 15th, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Also on April 15th, down in Yonkers at the Lenoir Preserve, we're going to have Rockin' Geology. So we're going to be able to walk around, you'll be able to walk around Lenoir and learn about some of the oldest history on site, which is the geologic history. We'll talk about the formation of the land, the Hudson River Museum, the Hudson River, and the ever-changing nature of Earth. This is an outdoor program, and it's going to be for ages 4+. That's going to be at Saturday, April 15th, again at Lenoir Preserve, and that time is going to be from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Also on Saturday, April 15th, from 1 to 3 at the Trailside Nature Museum at Ward Pound Ridge. That's up in Cross River. It's going to be a bluebird workshop. So for those of you that are folks that are taking out the cameras and binoculars to be able to do some bird watching, the program is going to discuss the role of bluebirds and tree swallows and the parameters they need for nesting. I know that this time of the year we see our friends, if you have homes, you'll see the birds coming back into the condos that they have created for themselves and coming back to return. This is going to be a great workshop for bluebirds and tree swallows. Again, this one you're going to need to pre-register, and you have to pre-register by April 7th. That's the end of this week. There's a fee for this workshop, which is $20, and you'll be able to see that information on the parks website as well, parks.westchestergov.com, and that's also going across the bottom of the screen, and that is Friday, April 15th from 1 to 3. We'll keep walking and talking and looking around all the great opportunities in our park system. participating in the golf courses, which are open. And again, the weather's been great, sometimes a little bit colder, even though the day was beautiful, but there's never a bad day to get out in nature and enjoy your county park system. Thanks, George.
Thank you very much, Ken. And in a few weeks, we look forward to starting up Bicycle Sundays, and we'll have that report in just a little while. I'll mention again, which you saw a press conference last week, Westchester Board of Legislators a week ago passed the Truthful Disclosure Law, which requires candidates for county legislature and county executive to submit a form that accurately describes their past education, their past employment, and their military service. This is an outgrowth of the George Santos disclosures. And by putting this form in to the Ethics Board prior to a primary or general election, the public and media will be well aware of what is the truthful information of each of these different candidates. I signed it into law. We had a signing ceremony last week, but we want you to know that that is in place, and we think that's an important element. This month of April is generally considered Earth Month, and of course, this first week is Earth Week. Our Department of Environmental Facilities is hosting a series of tours at our facility at the Grasslands Reservation of Valhalla at our Compost Ed facility. That is the composting facility that we created both to actually compost some products, but at the same time give an example of how you can create a compost structure in your own land, if you have that sufficient land, or any municipality could do that within their community. These tours going on this week will give individuals a chance to learn about the benefits and the science of compost and how the county's refuse district disposes food waste diversion initiatives. Residents will learn about some of our other initiatives, excuse me, including Planting Westchester and the Office of Energy Conservation and Sustainability. If you're interested in this program, give us a call at the Recycling Helpline at 914-813-5425. There's also an email that you can respond to, composted@westchestergov.com, and you get some information about these programs. But very much, if you want to learn more about composting, and if you want to learn about it in light of food recycling, you can do that at our facility, and we're happy to help show you that. We've had a series of town hall meetings that County Executive Kevin Byrne alluded to in Putnam County in the month of March. We had town hall meetings, coffee and conversation, we call them, with state legislators, county legislators, myself, and/or Ken, and they were held in Rye and Larchmont. A recent one held in Peekskill. There'll be more of those coming up during the month of April, so keep an eye out for that. That is an opportunity to be able to deal with all of these different issues in a public setting. And I think now that we're coming out of COVID, nothing is over, but certainly we're not needing to report on COVID. It's at a very low level. People are coming back out for events in the society. These coffee and conversation town halls, we think, is a good opportunity for you to come talk to your county legislator, talk to your county executive, deputy county executive directly. We want to highlight right now that New York State is in the middle of trying to close its budget for the 2022-23 year. The deadline date has passed, so we now are a couple of days after the deadline date. There is a time frame under which the state will operate, having served in the state legislature myself, that the continued negotiations on the number of issues that, from all press reports, appear to be the thorny areas of disagreement. There's about 4 or 5 of them, maybe a little bit more than that. Some of them directly affect county government. Some of them affect all of us here in the county. There's been a lot of debate over housing and the proposed programs that are in the executive budget. We oppose having a power to change zoning, but we do believe that there are ways to advance housing and affordable housing without having a mandated override of zoning, without mandating transit-oriented development. We've seen it happen here in Westchester County to a great extent in a number of our communities, so we'll see what compromise can come out of that in Albany. There are issues that affect the county's finances, particularly the pass-along of money from the federal government to help reimburse Medicaid costs that we believe should be passed on to the county. We'll see how that is resolved. There's a host of other issues. I don't need to go through all of them. Your local state legislators, when they're in the district, are holding meetings. I attended a neighborhood meeting in North White Plains over the weekend where State Legislator Assemblyman Chris Burdick and State Senator Shelley Mayer were reporting on these issues, and we had a chance to talk about some details, and we're continuing to watch and to try to be available to help where the county can help in the matters of public policy. But we hope the state budget will close soon. That will give us some stability and predictability, but we want it to close on terms that we think are acceptable for which we can all administer. We'll see how that all turns out. Today is kind of a unique birthday. It's the 50th birthday of the cell phone. That may not seem like something that you're going to have a party over, but I remember reading this story a number of years ago, and we did the math, and today now is the 50th year. The original cell phones, for those of you of a certain age may remember, it looked like a large brick, and it vibrated before you put it to your ear, but it was unbelievable technology that you could have a cordless phone that you could take out into the community. And of course, the first call was made in Midtown Manhattan by the person who's credited with developing it, Martin Cooper, who was with Motorola. And he called his competitor in another company who was also working on a mobile unit to basically say, I beat you to the punch, here's the cell phone. Now, of course, our cell phones look very different, and they're like strategically attached to us at all times. But nonetheless, it's a momentous day because cell phone communication has made information instantly available. When you have applications, apps as we call them, and moving into the 21st century, we now have an application, an app for the Beeline bus system. You can check to see whether your bus is on time and where it is at a particular route. We have an app that connects you to the county police, so you can immediately connect in and report something if you see it in a moment's notice. So there are uses for this kind of technology that benefit the way you access government services, that they're at the fingertip. And those who were not around 50 years ago take it for granted. Those of us who were around 50 years ago, even though we were very young men, we've seen what technology can do. Technology can be a dangerous thing if inappropriately used, but it can be a tremendously helpful tool. So happy birthday to the cell phone. More seriously, let me, on behalf of both of us, give our best wishes to all of those people of the various faiths in our county, as we are in a very religious-oriented time. Those of our brothers and sisters who are Jewish will be celebrating the first night of Passover. I believe it's coming up this Wednesday night. And that original Passover Seder, which is usually a family event, usually the second night of Passover is more of a community event. And we will see some examples of that at the various synagogues around Westchester County as the Passover season begins. This is also the holiest week on the Christian calendar. And on Thursday, we either call it Holy Thursday or Maundy Thursday, which signifies the night of the Last Supper of Jesus, sacred to Christians, and then Good Friday, which is the most solemn day on the Christian calendar, Good Friday, and then, of course, Easter Sunday, the most joyous day on the Christian calendar. That is ahead for all of our Christian brothers and sisters. And then for our Muslim brothers and sisters, they are in the month of Ramadan, which is a month of fasting and prayer and reflection, and they go through a daily fasting where they cannot consume food or drink during the course of the day, every day, and then break that fast after hours and can eat after the sun goes down. So whether you are Christian or Jewish or Muslim, these are times, again, of contemplation. Oftentimes they tie into a sense of repentance and those spiritual things that go well beyond what those of us in government are responsible to do, except that this is a week of great celebration and great thoughtfulness about our faith traditions. And so whether you are one of those three faiths or of no faith at all, this is part of our Westchester mosaic, and we embrace it on behalf of all of our friends. Our next update will come next Monday. We'll give you a briefing as to what's happening by that point in time. Maybe we'll have some news on the state budget. As soon as we have something we can report in some substance, we'll invite two members of the state delegation, state senator, and assembly member to come here and give us an update on what's happened when the budget has closed. In a couple of weeks' time, I think we're 3 weeks away, we'll be joined by the Rockland County Executive, Ed Day, who will come and talk about Rockland information. And we think this is important for all of us to know. We do not live on an island here in Westchester County. What happens in New York City affects us. What happens in the rest of the Hudson Valley affects us. What happens in the state affects us. And whether we as decision makers make those decisions or not, we still have to be mindful of them and try to have as good a cooperative relationship as we can to work across the aisle and to work cooperatively. We certainly don't expect everybody to agree. This is democracy, and built into the democracy is individual thinking, but we do expect people to show civility. We do expect people to show mutual respect. And even if you disagree philosophically, if you belong to different political parties, that is not a license to immediately show disrespect to other people. We are all Americans at the end of the day, and we have a common destiny. If we can appreciate how much we need to rely on each other, then we can move forward even when we have disagreements. And we can advance our society through our time in the arena and our time on this planet and try to prepare the best possible situation for those that come after us. So with that, I will close off today's report. George Latimer, County Executive, here with Ken Jenkins, Deputy County Executive. We thank you for watching. We thank again County Executive Kevin Byrne of Putnam County for being with us and giving us a thorough report on Putnam. We hope you have a good, safe week ahead. Again, for those celebrating the various religious services, we hope you have a very holy week ahead, and we'll see you next Monday.